Hello Internet! Happy Hunger Games month for the McInerney76 film review series, and may the odds be ever in your favor. Yes folks, you heard right. I decided to hold off on Disney Remake Month due to things that came up that required my attention. I promise I'll get to the rest of them eventually, but for now, I want to focus my time on talking about my thoughts on the Hunger Games movies, before we get the film adaptation of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the prequel to the original Hunger Games trilogy of books and quadrilogy of films. I don't remember how I came across these books, but it was right around the time I was in high school, my sophomore year to be exact. The Sonic and Shonic series was off to a rocky start, and so was my old channel. I may have gotten the books for my birthday, but other than that, I don't remember. I did hear that they were making a movie based on the very first book in the series titled The Hunger Games. So after watching the very first trailer for The Hunger Games, I decided to get started on the book, and let me tell you, I did not want to put that book down at all. Most of you guys know me as a gamer and a film connoisseur, and not much of a bookworm. Well, there's a lot you guys don't know about me. I love books, I love reading books, I love watching movies based on books. And when it came to Harry Potter, I used to watch the movies first and then read the books. But when Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince came out in 2009, I immediately shifted it around where I read the book first and watched the movie later. Now a lot of film adaptations of books have varying effects. Some take the source material flawlessly, like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter with little alterations here and there. And some are either nothing like the books, or are just straight up garbage, like the two Percy Jackson movies, Divergent, Twilight, and The Maze Runner. I'm happy to say that The Hunger Games falls under the first category where it's faithful to the book, with minor alterations that don't fuck up the story in any way, shape, or form. Just like the book by Suzanne Collins, The Hunger Games takes place in the fictional country of Panem, a dystopian society that's pretty much V for Vendetta meets George Orwell's 1984. There's the capital, and 13 numbered districts in varying states of poverty. It is believed that District 13 fell to the capital in the war, and as punishment to the districts by the capital, each of the 12 remaining districts is to select one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 18 to fight to the death in a televised battle to the death. Basically, that fucked up Japanese film Battle Royale, but toned down to PG-13. And then along came Squid Game. Katniss Everdeen, played by X-Men's Mystique herself, Jennifer Lawrence, volunteers to take her sister Prim's place when her name is picked randomly from a bowl. And thus, Katniss becomes the girl tribute from District 12. And the boy tribute is none other than Peeta Mellark, played by Josh Hutcherson, who would later go on to star in the upcoming Five Nights at Freddy's movie. We also have Woody Harrelson as Katniss and Peeta's alcoholic mentor, Hamish Abernathy, who is actually District 12's only Hunger Games victor, besides Lucy Gray Baird from the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. But Lucy Gray Baird is either really old or dead by the time the 74th Hunger Games takes place. She doesn't even appear as an old lady during the Quarter Quell's reaping ceremony in Catching Fire. So that means Lucy Gray might have died between the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and the Hunger Games. And then there's Elizabeth Banks, famed director of Cocaine Bear as Effie Trinket, Katniss and Peeta's escort for the Hunger Games. And Lenny Kravitz, father of Zoe Kravitz, as Cinna, Katniss' stylist who wants to make her and Peeta stand out among the other tributes to the 74th Hunger Games. And then we have the great Donald Sutherland, father of Kiefer Sutherland, as President Coriolanus Snow, the main antagonist of the original Hunger Games saga, before he was portrayed by Tom Blythe in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, in which he's the mentor of Lucy Gray Baird. We also have Thor's brother, Liam Hemsworth, as Gail Hawthorne, a close friend of Katniss from District 12. Later on in the series, there's a bit of a love triangle between Peeta and Gail. Kinda like how with the Twilight fandom, there's Team Edward and Team Jacob. There's Stanley Tucci as Caesar Flickerman, the host of the Hunger Games. He is a descendant of Lucky Flickerman, who hosted the 10th Hunger Games in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And then we have the man of many roles across many franchises, Toby Jones as Claudius Templesmith. He's best known for portraying Dobby in the Harry Potter movies, Artem Zola in the Captain America movies, and Basil Shaw in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And if any of you are fans of the Amazon Prime video series The Boys, your very own Huey Campbell, Jack Quaid, portrays the District 1 boy tribute, Marvel. There are some minor differences between the book and the movie. Some changes are good, and some are not so good. But I'm mostly here to talk about the movie rather than the book. But please, check out the Hunger Games books. They are spec-fucking-tacular. Any of the great young adult books are a blast to read. In the cases of The Maze Runner, Divergent, and Percy Jackson, the books are superior to the film adaptations. I'm just hoping the Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus does the books justice, unlike the two movies we got from 20th Century Fox. Yes, I'm more used to saying 20th Century Fox instead of 20th Century Studios. You all know the story by now. As punishment for a failed revolt against the capital, Each of the 12 districts is forced to select one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 18 to fight to the death in a televised event called the Hunger Games, until there's only one survivor. District 12 is the poorest district in all of Pan Am, and Katniss Everdeen is great with a bow and arrow, even more so than Legolas or Clint Barton. She's friends with Gail, who often joins her as she hunts for deer outside of the District 12 boundaries. Katniss volunteers as the girl tribute of District 12 after her sister Primrose, or Prim for short, is selected during the reaping ceremony. She is joined by Peeta Mellark, the boy tribute of District 12, and together they take the train to the capital to prepare for the Hunger Games. There they meet Haymitch, their mentor. Now, in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, there are 24 mentors, one for each tribute. The mentors used to be top-performing students of the Academy, but over the years, the role of mentor was eventually given to victors of past Hunger Games, like Haymitch, for example, who actually won the 50th Hunger Games and the second Quarter Quell, as we learn in Catching Fire, the book, not the movie. I'm just really hoping that Suzanne Collins writes a book, or even a movie about Haymitch's time as a Hunger Games tribute. When it comes time for me to review Catching Fire, the movie, I will give a summary on what the Quarter Quell is. Haymitch gives Katniss and Peeta some very valuable advice about getting sponsors, which will save their asses in the Hunger Games arena. Sponsors would give them food, medicine, or water via drone depending on how much of an impression they make leading up to the cornucopia bloodbath that starts the games. But not until after Katniss stabs a mahogany table with a dinner knife.
Can you pass the marmalade?
That is mahogany!
So then they arrive at the capital, where per tradition, the 24 tributes ride into the center of the capital wearing bright and colorful costumes that represent each district. For District 12 is coal mining. But Katniss' stylist Cinna wants her and Peeta to make an impression, so that they will be remembered by all of Pan Am. So during the parade, they put on one hell of a show when they wear fireproof outfits that just awe the spectators. Even Lucy Gray Baird's mentor himself, President Coriolanus Snow. This results in her being dubbed the Girl on Fire. While training with the other tributes, Katniss Beats Rue, the 12-year-old girl tribute from District 11. Her death later on broke me in the book, and it broke me in the movie. And every time I watch this movie, it just breaks me up on the inside. And in the training center, they learn the importance of survival skills, and not just kill, kill, kill. Most tributes die from natural causes in the arena. But then there's the careers, volunteers from District 1 and 2 who train for the games from an early age, meaning that they're the most lethal tributes in the games, and make the other tributes look like prey trapped for slaughter. And can I just say how damn good Seneca Crane's beard looks in this movie? It appears the makeup crew went all out with how capital citizens are portrayed. Seneca Crane is the head game maker of the 74th Hunger Games, meaning he designs the arena and controls the Hunger Games while it's happening. The head game maker of the 10th Hunger Games in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is Dr. Gaul, played by Viola Davis. And the head game maker for the 75th Hunger Games in Catching Fire is Plutarch Heavensbee, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who sadly passed away before the release of Mockingjay Part 1 in 2014. After group training, each tribute is required to do a solo demonstration of their abilities. For Katniss, she takes a bow and arrow and hits the targets right in the center, even shooting an apple out of a roasted pig's mouth that the game makers are feasting on.
Thank you for your consideration.
This demonstration gives her a score of 11, which surprises everyone, even Haymitch, Effie Trinket, and Peeta. And the night before the games kick off, each tribute is interviewed by Caesar Flickerman on live TV. And when it's Peeta's turn, he reveals that he has a crush on Katniss. At first, she thinks he's bullshitting just so they can get sponsors, but she learns later on that it's a genuine crush. They first met on a rainy day back in District 12. He was abused by his parents, and he saw Katniss starving nearly to death, so he tosses her a loaf of bread. I'm not gonna lie, when the games began, and the tributes are brought into the arena via Mari Brothers' warp pipe, and they have to stand on their podiums for 1 minute before they go for the weapons and supplies at the cornucopia, and that if you step off too early, you detonate landmines killing you. Absolute chills went down my 16-year-old spine. It's like the book was brought to life right before my very eyes, and it reminded me of why I couldn't put the book down when I read it for the first time. Now, if this movie wasn't aimed at young adults, and it was given an R rating, then there would be blood everywhere, decapitated heads, and so on that would make the Suicide Squad look like Avengers Endgame in comparison. A recurring symbol in the Hunger Games series is the Mockingjay. It's a fictional bird that mimics any sounds they pick up. Like if one were to sing a melodic tune, they would sing it back. This is seen when Rue points out to Katniss that there are Mockingjays in the arena. and Katniss is seen wearing the Mockingjay pin all throughout the movie because she gave it to Prim, who gives it back to her before she's shipped off to the capital. Story time! Most of you who have seen my videos know that I sometimes record myself whistling as certain characters like Sonic, for example. Right around the time this movie first came out in 2012, I was still learning how to whistle. So when I first tried the 4-note tune after seeing this movie for the very first time, it kinda sounded bad. But after 12 years of doing the Sonic and Sonic series, I've become a whistling expert. Obviously, I can't do finger whistling because it's too fucking complicated, and I can't whistle through my teeth either, so I can only do the traditional method of whistling. Alright, back to the Hunger Games. The Mockingjay is also a symbol for rebellion across Pan Am, which we will see later on when I cover Catching Fire in Mockingjay Part 1. And there's a bunch of other fictional animals too, like jabberjays and trackerjackers, which are wasps that are genetically engineered to cause hallucinations to those that are stung, and they're deadly. And we see that Peeta is an expert at camouflage as he's a baker back in District 12. And of course the arena is being controlled by the game makers, who have control over everything that goes on in the arena, such as setting off fires. Eventually, Katniss teams up with Rue when she points out the trackerjacker nest above the other tributes, as she cuts down and kills Glimmer, who's the girl tribute from District 1. She had the bow and arrow, and Katniss steals it from her corpse so she can use it herself. Katniss and Rue then work together to blow up a bunch of food surrounding the cornucopia, which is successful. But then we see that Rue's in trouble, and Katniss does Homelander's job for him and kills Huey. But not until Rue dies in her arms. There is no Hunger Games death as heartbreaking as Rue's. There's a 3-finger salute that's used all throughout District 12 that Katniss does to pay respects to Rue after she dies. And this results in a riot in District 11, where Rue and the boy tribute Thresh come from. Now, the riot in District 11 was not featured in the book, but it did foreshadow what's to come for the rebellion against the Capitol and Catching Fire and Mockingjay. Eventually, she finds Peeta, who is seriously injured, and per Haymitch's request, they change the rules to the games where 2 tributes from the same district can win the 74th Hunger Games. So that gives hope to the supposed star-crossed lovers of District 12. And then another announcement where there's a feast at the cornucopia. This feast is to lure tributes into another bloodbath for food and supplies. In this instance, Katniss needs medicine for Peeta. She gets ambushed by Clove, the girl tribute from District 2. She and the boy tribute from District 2, Cato, are still alive at this point in the movie. But then in comes Thresh, who kills Clove and spares Katniss' life after she was kind to Rue earlier on in the games. Katniss brings the medicine over to Peeta, and they both realize that the 2 of them can go home since Districts 2, 5, and 11 each have 1 surviving tribute left, and 12 has a shot of going home together. The next morning, while hunting for food, Katniss hears a cannon go off, signaling the death of a tribute. She initially panics thinking that Peeta died, but he didn't. However, she's quick to identify nightlock berries, poisonous berries that kill you in 1 minute. That is how the District 5 girl tribute Foxface ultimately dies. And after the death of Thresh, a bunch of genetically modified creatures lure Katniss, Peeta, and Cato to the cornucopia, where they have one final standoff. Cato dies, thus Katniss and Peeta won the games. Or so they thought. The rules are suddenly changed where it goes back to only 1 tribute surviving, but it all turns around where they threaten to double suicide with the nightlock berries. So now, District 12 has 2 Hunger Games victors, but their act of defiance in the arena has triggered an uprising in the districts, thus leading up to Catching Fire. I'm giving the Hunger Games a 10 out of 10. This has always been one of my favorite movies of the 2010s, if not the best one out there. My top favorite movie of the 2010s is definitely Captain America the Winter Soldier, but the Hunger Games is definitely up there for me. This movie was very faithful to the book it was based on for the most part, and it was exactly the way I envisioned it on screen after reading the book. Jennifer Lawrence will always be Katniss Everdeen to me. This is probably Josh Hutcherson's best role since Bridge to Terabithia, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in Five Nights at Freddy's. I've been a fan of the Hunger Games just about as long as I've been a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, and this is coming fresh off the Harry Potter bandwagon. I love everything about the Hunger Games. The thrill, the excitement, the suspense, how it's basically a modern-day 1984 with an authoritarian government, and a dystopian society, and they have really fucked up customs like the Hunger Games. The best way to describe the Hunger Games is Battle Royale, but toned down for a young adult audience. Now I can see why the book has met with some controversy over the years, how it's been banned in a lot of places. But either way you slice it, the Hunger Games, both the book and the movie, are absolutely excellent, and you should check it out ASAP. But do read the book first, and then check the movie out. Or you can do it the other way around, whatever floats your boat. Stay tuned for my upcoming review of Catching Fire coming soon, as well as all other projects and reviews coming soon. Till then, I'll see you all next time.